Chapter 11. Ruth Rose showed the passes to the uniformed conductor, and they boarded the cable car. It rode along a track in the street, clanging its bell whenever they came to an intersection. It was too noisy and windy for talking, so the kids just hung on and watched the scenery go by. When the car plunged down the steep street, they all yelled. 22 minutes, Ruth Rose said as the kids hopped off at Fisherman's Wharf. All of the other people in the car were headed in the same direction, so the kids just followed along. 3 minutes later, they were in front of the aquarium. The morning was cool and breezy. Dink could smell the sea lions, but the fog hid them from view. The kids walked closer to the water. Now they could see and hear the sea lions. The huge creatures were barking and flapping on top of each other on the docks. A few of them slipped into the water. Tourists posed for pictures with the sea lions in the background. There are the boats, Dink said. He pointed to several that were tied to the end of docks. Some were moored farther out in the water. But which one are we looking for? Ruth Rose asked. It's a sailboat, Dink said. He tried to remember what he'd seen on that guy's laptop screensaver. I think it was green or blue. Great, Josh said. He flipped open his sketchbook. Maybe this will help? What, you drew the boat? Dink asked. Josh, you're awesome. I know I'm awesome, but I didn't draw the boat, Josh said. I drew the guy we saw in the aquarium. If we can't find his boat, maybe we can find him. He pointed to a drawing of a man's head. Dink looked at the small sketch. But I thought that was Dr. Worthington, he said. Josh shrugged. Nope. This is the guy who was sitting at the table near us yesterday, he said. Remember, he had an M tattooed on the back of his hand. Maybe M&Ms are his favorite candy. Now, I know why I thought Dr. Worthington looked familiar, Dink cried. He looked just like the laptop guy. They could be related. Dr. Worthington has white hair and a skinny mustache, Ruth Rose said. The laptop guy is bald. Wait a second. Josh pulled a pencil from his pocket and added hair and a mustache to the drawing. You're right, Ruth Rose said. Now he looks just like Dr. Worthington. It's pretty creepy if they're related to each other, Dink said. One had a drawing of the swan float in his computer, and the other is the manager of the parade. Maybe Dr. Worthington is a crook too, Josh said. Do you remember how mad he was when the parade got stopped last night? Ruth Rose asked. Dink nodded. Yeah, I do remember. But then we found Lily, and he knew the crown had been stolen. He stopped yelling. In fact, he looked kind of sad. How do we find the boat? Josh asked. We can't go out on the docks, or the sea lions will gobble us up. They eat fish, not tourists, Ruth Rose said. But I have an idea. There must be an office around here where they keep track of all the boats that come and go. We can show them Josh's picture of the guy we saw in the aquarium. If he keeps a boat here, they might know him. Great idea, Josh said. Wait a minute. He erased the hair and mustache from his drawing. Give him a tan, Dink suggested. Josh darkened the man's face. How's that? Perfect, Dink said. It's Laptop Man again. The kids walked around. The sun was getting brighter through the fog, but they didn't see anything that looked like an office for boaters. I have an idea, Ruth Rose said. Wait here. She ran over to a guy selling balloons. Dink and Josh watched her talking to him. Then she ran back. The office is on the fuel dock, she told them. That's where the boaters buy gas. Where's the fuel dock? Dink asked. Ruth Rose pointed. Way at the end of the pier, she said. He said the sea lions don't like the smell of gas, so they stay away. The kids hiked to the pier. Some of the fog disappeared, and the sun came out. At the end of the pier were 2 gas pumps outside a small white building. A sign on the door said Harbor Master. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose opened the door and walked inside. The room was tiny and hot. 2 men sat at desks typing on computers. Both were in t-shirts. Pictures of boats decorated the walls. A row of hooks held a few jackets and sweaters. A heater in the corner hummed and threw out too much heat for such a small space. help you?" one of the men asked. He had dark hair and a tanned face. The man didn't get up, just swiveled his chair around. The other man kept typing. Dink's mind raced, searching for something to say. Why would 3 kids walk in asking about some guy whose name they didn't even know? Dink shot a look at Josh, who stood there holding his sketchbook. "We're looking for someone," Dink said finally. "We met him in the aquarium yesterday. He was working on a cool laptop. My dad wants to buy me one, so I was wondering if—" Dink felt his face go red. "Here's his picture," Josh said, jumping in. "I draw everyone I meet." He thrust his sketchbook toward the man. "We think he has a boat here somewhere." The man squinted, then took the sketchbook and showed it to his companion. "Take a look, Burke," he said. "I don't recognize this dude." The man named Burke glanced at Josh's drawing, then shook his head. "Nope, never saw him either." He handed the sketchbook back to Josh. At the same time, Dink noticed the man take a quick look out the window. Then he went back to working at his computer. Dink turned to see what Burke had been looking at. Through the window, Dink could see sun and blue sky. He also saw a green sailboat moored to a buoy.